Chin stop, and at the line it's in! Lindholm.
That is a highlight reel goal. You can't do much about that.
Watch out for Lindholm. Lindholm trying to get a step in there, shoulders Karlsson away, works to his forehand and score!
6 off-season free agent landing spots for Elias Lindholm. Oliver Ekman-Larsson's buyout adds to the cap burden. Lindholm's potential departure time has arrived, and it's time for him to trade to another team. It was difficult to watch the Canucks lose to the Oilers in Game 7, but the mystery of where Elias Lindholm may sign on July 1 is much tougher. The Canucks have a difficult off-season with Elias Pettersson's large extension, Filip Hronek's salary request, and Nikita Zadorov's potential departure. Now the question is, where will he go? Let's take a look at where his two-way abilities could lead next. 1. Vancouver Canucks. When the Canucks completed the deal with Calgary to get Lindholm, the price they paid was not very high, given Vancouver's desire to win the Stanley Cup. If the 29-year-old leaves in free agency, however, the trade will be far more difficult to digest following an early postseason exit. Lindholm's regular season performance in Vancouver was unremarkable, with 12 points in 26 games. However, his 10 points in 13 playoff games tied him for third best on the club, with Quinn Hughes trailing only JT Miller and Brock Besser. The eventual result of the postseason will tarnish everyone's performance, apart from Besser, but Lindholm demonstrated how vital he can be for Vancouver. With the Canucks' financial future potentially being an issue, given the other players who will be eligible for free agency this summer, Filip Hronek is RFA, Nikita Zadorov is UFA, and other lineup questions they will seek to address, losing Lindholm would entail trying to find another player like him to replace him. The easiest thing to do is re-sign him, but figuring out the money will be the most difficult, especially if they want to keep Hronek and Zadorov. Is the grass greener on the other side of GM Patrick Alvin, or are Lindholm's prospects looking promising? Well, it's a large question to answer. 2. Chicago Blackhawks. It's not customary to mention Chicago for every possible high-end free agent, but they have Connor Bedard on the rise and plenty of salary cap flexibility. They'll need to surround the 18-year-old and other young prospects with good veterans who can help them return to the playoffs, and Lindholm fits the bill. He can score goals and accumulate points while also being an excellent frontline defender. If Chicago wants to make significant progress toward returning to the playoffs, it will require more than a few players who can do both well. In Lindholm's case, he has recently been a Selke Trophy caliber player, and while his postseason performance may not have piqued the interest of fans, a fresh start with a rising team could be beneficial. A center grouping of Bedard, Lindholm, and Jason Dickinson may not be everyone's cup of tea, but it will irritate opposition teams to have to deal with them game after game due to their combination of talent, speed, and propensity to frustrate. 3. Utah Hockey Club. This is another obvious club to consider, but unlike Chicago, Utah already has a lot of its important young players in place. Clayton Keller, Logan Cooley, Matthias McKechnie, and Dylan Guenther are among the top performers. However, one area where they might improve significantly is at center, and adding Lindholm to the lineup would put Utah in a position where making the playoffs becomes less of a pipe dream and more of a reality. You can argue that Utah hasn't sorted out the center position yet. Cooley is growing up to be a very good player and will be their number one guy in the future, but the situation behind him is not great. No offense to Alex Kerfoot and Nick Bjugstad, but rolling them out as number one or number two centers will not help them challenge for the playoffs. Adding Lindholm would change the conversation and instantly deepen Utah. We know the team ownership wants to contend as quickly as possible, and we know it's going to spend money to achieve it, and we know it's got a lot of cap room to deal with. If nothing else, Utah is the real wild card of the summer. But spending to add Lindholm would settle some of its lineup issues. 4. Boston Bruins. The Boston Bruins were the main team mentioned as being interested in Lindholm's talents in the run-up to the trade deadline and when Calgary sold him to Vancouver. Now that all the Bruins need is money and time to sign the Swede, it makes sense for them to come back on July 1. Yes, Boston has some major decisions to make with some of its own players, Jake DeBrusk, Linus Ullmark, and Jeremy Swayman, as well as a roster to create with approximately $20 million in cap room to work with next season. However, the Bruins are also a Stanley Cup contender, and while Charlie Coyle, Pavel Zacha, and rookie Matthew Poitras, before being hurt, provided solid performances, center is an area that requires improvement. Lindholm's ability to perform well both offensively and defensively makes him an ideal fit for Boston, but determining how to best suit a prospective contract there will involve sacrifice and innovation. 5. San Jose Sharks. We're going to speak about San Jose and Lindholm, and we'll be completely honest about how unlikely this match is for one simple reason. The Sharks aren't in a position to win right now, and adding Lindholm doesn't make a lot of sense, despite having a lot of cap room. However, knowing that they will take Macklin Celebrini with the first pick, Logan Couture will be back and healthy, and 2023 first-round pick Will Smith will be in the mix soon, adding Lindholm to that bunch is something to think about. Couture has a 3-year contract with the Sharks, while defensemen Marc-Eduard Vlasic and Mario Ferraro have 2-year deals. They are not weighted down by anyone in a negative sense, and they are rebuilding. Lindholm would help them bridge the gap between the next few difficult seasons and when they want to make the playoffs. It would be important to examine how he would perform by that point, as well as whether his cap hit would be an issue by then. 6. Carolina Hurricanes. You've seen this movie before, but given how brilliantly Lindholm performed after being traded from Carolina, why not go for a reunion? The match makes sense because his current style of play is a good fit for the Hurricanes, who could use some help. Sebastian Aho is an excellent number 1 center, and Jordan Staal and Jack Drury have excelled as defenders in the lower half of the lineup, but they may benefit from having an elite number 2 center. Yes, they have Evgeny Kuznetsov, but real life is not a video game, so that will most likely not work out well. Yes, Carolina faces several major decisions. Will they re-sign Jake Gensel? What about Brett Pesce? How about Brady Shea? Teuvo Teravainen? How about Frederik Andersen? Don Waddell faces a challenging task, but Lindholm can help the Hurricanes excel at both scoring and defending. They, like everyone else, should be aware of this by now. That's it for today's video. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. Until next time,